So, I've been working on a new video for a while and I'm not nearly done yet, thanks to work and Easter holidays at home and whatever, but the deadline for my monthly upload schedule is approaching fast, so I thought that I could maybe do a little, small, shortish filler video to give you guys something to watch and to please the algorithm. And no, this is not about Aloy allegedly looking ugly in Forbidden West. Go touch some grass, neckbeards. I hate video games. And I love video games, I really do. I spend a lot of time in them, I talk about them a lot, I try to get other people into them as well, I listen to their music on a daily basis, I decorate many aspects of my life with content from them. They make me happy. But they also make me want to smash my head onto my desk. It's the definition of a love-hate relationship. And of course, that's oftentimes because of the people I choose or am forced to spend my gaming with, but sometimes it's the games themselves. And today I don't want to talk about all those grand, deep issues I usually ramble on about, but rather just complain for a bit and discuss a few things where I'm like, hey, stop that. So you know what I hate? A game that runs like trash. I mean, who doesn't, right? But what I hate even more is when games run well but only look good in a circle or square around the player. Huh? I hear you say. No, seriously, look at this. There's this very visible area surrounding the player where especially shadows, but often also vegetation, textures or other effects look pristine, but then there's this sharp drop-off after which the effect just isn't there anymore, or at least much worse. I gotta admit, this has gotten better in the past couple of years, but I still stumble upon it sometimes. Cyberpunk had awful pop-in issues until recently, and I know that there has to be a decline in quality relative to distance. Game engine can't possibly run at full detail even miles away from the player, and why should it? It doesn't make any sense, I can't see it anyways. But having the lower end version of the game so close to my camera that I actually see a border of quality, that's why I draw the line. If you need more resources for your game, just dial down the graphics in total. I'd much rather have a good or acceptable looking game with a distinct style that runs well than a game that looks good for 2 meters and after that it's a first gen Sega game. Take Minecraft. It doesn't look good per se, but Fallout 4 had its own unique style, which wasn't detailed, but the performance was... So, anyways, isn't a huge open world amazing? Like, look at our map, it's huge! I mean, it's filled with nothing really, repetitive settlement after repetitive settlement and boring fetch quests, but it's big. That sarcasm might be a little hypocritical coming from a guy whose favorite games of the past couple of years are mostly open world games, but I feel like they actually used what they were given. I mean, Nakey Jakey is absolutely right when he says that Rockstar's game design is outdated, and I bet almost every quest in RDR2 could change where it takes place and would change absolutely nothing about the story. But it's different. RDR2's world deliberately exists relatively disconnected from and around the protagonist. For the world, he is just another guy, so making it possible to change the world around him without changing his story actually has a purpose. Sadly, and this hurts me to say, Metro Exodus fell into the open world trap a bit. Metro lives off of hiding in tunnels, being underground, surrounded by enemies. Taking this concept into semi-open worlds, bubbles of lore surrounding train stops, really doesn't work well. Exodus was best when it left the open world for claustrophobic tunnels, and I hope its successor will realize that not trends should define game worlds, but necessity. Speaking of Metro, you know what also sucks? Unskippable intro movies. Like, I understand that companies need me to see their involvement in a game, and I generally don't dislike developer intros, but the publisher, especially those fallen from grace, Nvidia, AMD, Intel, or whoever, I don't care. Some people's trains of thoughts might go, oh, this game good, Nvidia, on this game, Nvidia good, but that's quite naive, isn't it? And it doesn't just stop at logos. I'm a tinkerer, more on that later, and I want to set my games up exactly how I want them to be. Graphics, sound, subtitles, language, whatever. And some games throw unskippable cutscenes at 100% volume at your feet and then force you to start playing without ever having the chance to set anything up, really. I think one of the newer Battlefields, maybe 1 or 5, was very guilty of this, and I'm okay with prolonged cutscenes and adequately long tutorial sections, but please let me set my stuff beforehand. I usually play on 100% volume in Windows and dial down the game, so my ears will thank you. So as I said, I love playing around with especially the graphic settings in games, and it might be my technical lack of understanding when it comes to game engines, but how come that I can just set literally any setting I want to any value I want while playing in some games, while others need a restart for everything? Anno 1800 and Horizon Forbidden West are two polar opposites of this spectrum. Anno has only one advanced setting that doesn't need a restart. Even MSAA needs a restart. How is this a thing? Horizon, on the other hand, can just go from 800 by 600 pure trash to be honest, the prettiest game I have played yet in literal seconds. I just toggle it on and off. And I can see the change right there on the screen. No unnecessarily large menu obstructing my view, no need to go back in-game to check the effects of what I just did, except for FPS of course. Oh, now that would be interesting. A toggle to have the game running in the background of the menu to immediately see the change in FPS or whatever. But that's complaining on a whole different level. Now, as much as I like how good, for example, Forbidden West looks, it has a byproduct, or is a byproduct of the increasing striving for realism. And while I could probably do a whole video just on the gameplay and storytelling and structural problems that arise from making games more and more realistic, it's the possible loss of innovation that bugs me the most. Yes, I know there are AAA and indie games with fresh new concepts out there, but see this more as a reminder that reality has a lot less to offer than we are used to from games. So we shouldn't borrow too much from it, not in most games at least. And while all this is hopefully just a trend, as most things in this fast-paced world are, I feel like we might lose out on great game-changing concepts for gameplay mechanics or just whole games in general because it would be incompatible with the goal of being realistic. We saw this before with suddenly every shooter being battle royale, every racer being a tuner, or every survival game being alone in the woods and crafting stuff. Another way of trying to implement reality through variety is dialogue options, and while I really like it when games allow me to be an asshole, a smartass, a badass, or any other kind of ass, I don't get why some games give me the option to do or say something that, in the end, has no effect, or at least seems to have none. I still don't know whether the smart, the compassionate, or the aggressive choice in Forbidden West has any effect on the outcome of the dialogue whatsoever. I mean, I could check, I could try, but that kind of takes me out of the immersion. And if the effect is so subtle that I can't even tell it's there, is it even worth it? A thing I never really understood, accepted yes, but not understood, is people who dislike open world games. The whole concept in general, to me at least, is peak gaming. That obviously doesn't mean that I want every game to be open world. I mentioned the case with Metro a few minutes ago. I absolutely understand not liking bad open worlds, but why would you not want to have a huge area to explore, secrets to find and adventures to have? Maybe you like being guided, and that's okay. Maybe you want to excel at something specific in a very condensed area, that's also fine. But there's a thin line to one of my biggest gripes in gaming: excessive hand-holding. Sure, not everyone is familiar with the typical gaming mechanics we've all grown to love, so some tutorials might be right the way they are, even if they are a bit too hand-holdy. But if this continues on into the story and the game becomes nothing more than, "Hey, player, come here. Hey!" and there's a big arrow or marker or whatever over a button you have to push, which triggers a pre-made animation, a cutscene, and the next bit of walking behind a companion that is way too slow, that's boring. That's not gaming, that's nothing. Dishonored actually did this quite well. It follows a bubble-based level structure, meaning that you have several large areas, like city blocks or huge buildings, you can navigate freely. You have one or more objectives that you can fulfill in many ways. You have a gun, a knife, some magical abilities. You can teleport, stop time, stay hidden in the shadows, or just run through the level and game end everyone. And that actually makes a difference. It worsens the plague ravaging the city and makes everything bleaker. The game set the perfect amount of rails and hand-holding and knows when to let you go. It tells you what you have to do, but not how you have to do it. And that's a proper game. Now, this list of course isn't conclusive. As I said, it's just a fun little video in between. I thought about discussing annoying menu structures, the gadgetization of shooters, overly sexualizing characters and annoying tropes and stereotypes, season passes, loot boxes and microtransactions in general, the resulting FOMO, dumb achievements like started the game, exclusivity and the concept of spectacle over atmosphere, but here we are. That's enough for now. please let me know what you'd like to see change for video games. I'm always looking forward to your comments. Thanks for watching.